This is Nailon, liturgical guitarist. This is lesson 1 in the finger-picking series for the plucking hand, which in my case is the right hand. So a chord has 2 or more notes played at the same time, and that's just the simple definition of it. Then the one thing we have to talk about when we're talking about the right hand is how to designate the fingers of the right hand. So we use in guitar the jargon, the correct letters are P, I, M, A for thumb, first finger, second, and third finger. And that's because it comes from the Spanish, which is the language that classical guitar originated in. And so P is pulgar in Spanish, that's your thumb. And I is indicio, or index. M is medio, middle. And A is anular, which means ring in Spanish. So pulgar, indicio, medio, anular. Thumb, first, second, third. P-I-M-A. The reason it's handy to use those letters is because in the notation, when we have numbers up there, it tells you what finger of the left hand is pressing down the string, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if we designated these T, 1, 2, 3 on the right hand, it would be very confusing. So just memorize P-I-M-A. Now, first thing we're going to talk about is planting. Planting is not it's more of a beginning technique, but it's really critical because it helps you to find the strings, to develop a kinesthetic awareness of where those strings are, so that whenever you put your hand down, you're ready to play. You're not having to fumble around and try and find where your fingers are going to go. So these first exercises here are basically just to teach the picking fingers how to find the strings. So the first exercise is you play a quarter note, chord, and for finger picking here, most of the stuff we're going to do in this lesson is just on the open strings. We don't need to worry about the left hand or the fretting hand for now. Let's just concentrate on one hand at a time. So when we pluck, the thumb goes forward and the fingers go back. So you want your thumb to be out in front of your fingers. A lot of people will start out like this and they have their thumb almost touching the first finger. That's not a good thing to do. So you want to bend the wrist a little bit. Let me get that in there. So bend the wrist a little bit this way, not too much, just enough to where it puts your thumb forward so that your thumb has like its own track to move and each finger has its own track to move. And they're not going to be crashing into each other when the thumb and the first finger play at the same time. So just a slight little bend of the wrist might be helpful to, let's see, get that better there. A little bit, so that the thumb is forward and the fingers have their own travel. So that's one thing. The next thing is the curvature of the hand. The wrist itself, this line across the wrist should be straight. It shouldn't be bent like that. It should be pretty straight. The fingers should have a gentle curve to them. You see this curve along here. When you pluck a string, you want the finger to just get under the edge. I use fingernails. Some people don't use fingernails. They do fine with just getting a little bit of their finger pad under the string and then plucking upward like this. I use a fingernail. So my fingernails, you can see how they're shaped here. Let's get them in there. They're shaped with a nice curved edge. Now those 3 nails are, true confession here, those 3 nails are acrylic. I have to go to a beauty shop every month and get those redone. But I play steel string most of the time now, so all the time. And steel string will eat up your regular nails. And yeah, it's hard to keep nails. So some steel string players will use their fingertips and get a good sound, but I've never been able to do that. And coming from the world of classical guitar, I mean, I have good nails, but For nylon string, it was great, but steel string, even good nails are not strong enough for steel string. So when I would teach, like at the grade school where I taught, I had a little guitar class, and when people were first learning, when the kids were first learning to pluck, their finger would the resistance on going through the string would cause their finger to bend backwards. You can see that first digit's bending backwards there. That's called negative motion. You do not want that. You want your finger to go right through the string with no backward motion. So you have to build a little bit of strength right in there, in that joint there, to keep that finger so it doesn't collapse and go backwards. What I used to do would be take Scotch tape and tape their fingers, and of course they loved that. They'd play with the tape more than they would the guitar. But anyway, that's one trick you can do to get those, till you develop enough strength to keep your fingers from collapsing there. Like in this, you don't want that to do this. You want it to just go straight through. Now when you pluck, like I said, the thumb goes forward. The fingers, they kind of almost collapse to the fist. They go in that direction. What you do, you notice the top part of my hand here stays steady. I'm not doing this. You're not lifting off the guitar. If you do that, you're kind of getting underneath the string and pulling up, which doesn't make as nice a sound as going through the string this way. So you get a lot better tone going that way. I think that's enough on right hand shape. So anyway, exercise 1, teaching the picking fingers to find the string. So I'm going to plant my hand in here. Planting means putting all the fingers down on the strings are going to play. And then I'm going to play them. You'll see that exercise 1, it's quarter notes and they're the open strings, the first 4 open strings. So, and then I plant. And that's a quarter note rest. So I play for a quarter note and I plant for a quarter note with a rest. Play, rest, play, rest. Now you notice I'm using a thumb pick. You don't have to use a thumb pick. I prefer the tone I get with that, but you just have to catch the edge of your thumbnail. Now, another thing you'll notice, when I play these strings, it sets off a sympathetic vibration in the 2 bass strings. So there's a thing called damping, which I don't talk about on this page, but if I lay the side of my thumb down to mute all 3 of these strings, it's called damping or muting, then I get perfect silence on the rest. So let's try it. Now I got the metronome set at about 66 here. We'll play through that first exercise, and you'll notice after 2 measures, the bass string, the thumb moves to the 5th string for the bass, the note A, and then in the last 2 measures it goes all the way down to the E. But the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers stay in the same place. They're all, as a general rule, your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers are going to play the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st string respectively. So here we go. Exercise 1, 2, ready, play. Fifth string, and the 6th string. Okay, and that might be a little fast for you, but you can always slow your metronome down. Then in exercise 2, we're shortening the time used to plant. Because like I said, planting is not a real useful musical technique once you get to more advanced stuff, but it's really important to learn it and to get your fingers used to finding the strings. So here, now we made the quarter note a dotted quarter, so it's going to be 1.5 beats, and then we have only a half beat rest. So we're shortening the time for the plant. So Exercise 2 would sound like this. Ready, play. 1, 2, and 1. 5th string. And now the 6th string. And then exercise 3, after you've got that down, I wouldn't go to exercise 2 until you've got exercise 1 down and you're pretty good at finding the strings. Then do exercise 2. When you've got that one down really good, then you're ready to go to exercise 3, which is an instantaneous plant. So I'm going to play and plant at the same time now. So it sounds like this. They're half notes. 1, 2. I think I left out a measure there in the middle, but anyway, you get the idea. So once you've gotten that far, then you've learned how to find the strings, and that's going to set you up for the next lesson where we start doing arpeggiated or broken chords, playing one note at a time. You can get your hand in position to do that. But right now, turn the page and let's look at an application that will use what we've just learned. Now this is the from my arrangement in Canon in D, which you can find on the general page, general section on the hymnal page. And if you put a capo on the 2nd fret, then you're in D. But I'm not going to put a capo on. We're just going to play it in the key of C. So it's Canon in C by Pachelbel. So it sounds like this. And each half note gets 2 beats. So I'm still at 66 here. See how this works. Next line. I missed one there. Go to arpeggios after that, but that's for another lesson. Now, the next thing we're going to do is called a thumb pluck, and it's we're going to now separate the thumb from the fingers to kind of get ready for playing arpeggios, and it's very similar to what we've done before. Only the thumb plays, and then you pluck 3 fingers, and then you plant thumb, and then play a 3-note chord. Plant, thumb, but I don't give you time. The way it's written here, you play thumb, and then you pluck, and then you plant and play the thumb at the same time. So there's no, because you shouldn't need a time period. When I was teaching this to beginners, I would do thumb, pluck, plant, thumb, pluck, plant. But we've already learned how to plant. If you've done those exercise 1 and 2 real well, and 3. So you should be able to do this. Thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck. So that exercise 4, again at 66, is going to sound like, ready, play. Thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb. Now to the 5th string, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, 6th string, thumb. And then in exercise 5, all we're doing is we're just doing a little bass alternation. You'll see that'll come in handy when we get to arpeggios down the road here. But same thing. First it's going to go, first 2 measures are 4th string to 5th string alternation in the bass. Then it does the opposite, 5th string to 4th string in the next 2 measures, and then the last 2 measures are 6th string to 4th string. So it sounds like this at 66. Ready, play. Thumb, pluck, 5th string, pluck, 4th, pluck, 5th, pluck. Now 5th again. Now 4th, 5th string, 4th string. Now 6th string, 6, 4 to 6 to 4. And that comes in handy. At that point, if I was teaching a folk guitar class, we'd probably do, I don't know, I'm playing a D chord here. Let's see. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother John? Brother John, morning bells are ringing, morning bells are ringing, ding ding dong, ding ding dong. So that's a one chord song. It's easy to play. So, but you can use this. It's a lot like if you were playing with a pick and you're doing. Oh, let's see, where's my pick here? Let me get it. And probably a lot of you have played with picks, so it's like. So I get that same kind of rhythm with thumb pluck. Anyway, that's the thumb pluck and chords. And next lesson 2 is arpeggios part 1, and we will break those chords up into what are called arpeggios. So that's all I have for this lesson. I pray God blesses your playing, and I wish you peace.